Ashleigh Grimshaw is a British MMA fighter with a career spanning over 2 decades. Fighting out a team title in London alongside close friend and UFC veteran Brad Pickett, Grimshaw's career has evolved with the growth of mixed martial arts from the old school cage fighting and Vale Tudo days to becoming a multi-billion-dollar industry. This video is part 1 of the Ashleigh Grimshaw MMA documentary series as we look back at where it all began and much more. Support K1 via Patreon for £1 a month to produce more combat sports documentaries and subscribe on YouTube. Back in the days, it was called Cage Fighting.
It was called Cage Fighting, and it was in the Circus Tavern. You could still smoke. It was in a ring, and it was just like a smoke-filled arena. I remember who was in my changing room. Mark Epstein was in my changing room at the time, and there's a scary dude for someone you first met. And then they put me up against Paul McVeigh. Now, me being me, I didn't do any research. Jess was kind of like the guy, you train and train and train and train, and then you go, hey, you're fighting. So on 2 weeks' notice, I knew how to fight. I didn't know how good Paul McVeigh was. Turns out he was pretty handy. He gave me a hard time, actually. First round was pretty close. Nearly heel hooked me, broke my leg. That was pretty cool. And then I don't know how I managed to do it. I'm actually on top of him and just punch him out. And I was like, oh, this MMA stuff's all right. And then from then, I just kept, having a few fights. I had a normal job at the time. I'm a qualified plumbing and heating engineer by trade. But I haven't done that for God knows how many years, maybe 10, over 10 years. So I was working, fighting. It was up and down career, and then I think my most standout fight was when I fought Ronnie Mann on, what was the show called then? Was it Cage Contenders, perhaps? Dave O'Donnell had made like a spin-off from Cage Rage, Cage Contenders. And again, I've been matched up against this like undefeated beast kid. Obviously, I'm lazy. I don't look at who's doing what. I don't go on the internet. I can't be bothered. Man, give me a hard time, this kid. He's cutting out spinning kicks, flying head stomped me in the first round. Don't worry, I got him back in the third. And that fight there kind of put me as one of the top featherweights in the country.
I remember seeing him and Ronnie Mann, and I was highly impressed by the skill level of that fight, especially on that show. And I was like, straight away, I was like, I need to try and, have one of these guys to train with.
Ronnie went on to do really well. I think he fought for K1, Dream, Bellator.
And I knew that Ronnie Mann was a bit more up north, and I remember that Ashleigh trains in London. He used to train with Ashleigh down at Pancras, London. And I remember bumping into him on the tube one day, and I said to him, hey mate, let me get some training. Where do you actually train? I didn't know where Pancras, London was, and it was in Bethnal Green. And I lived in Bethnal Green, even though I trained at Team Time, it was in Bethnal Green, so I used to go train with Ashleigh quite on a regular basis, just I needed people my size who are a good level to train with. So obviously a lot of people would see someone like Ash as a potential opponent. He could have been, but I saw him as an asset to my career to help me develop as well.
It's funny actually, Brad Pickett was doing really well, knocking people out, and he had a big punch on him and everyone sort of knew about it. I was excited to see that, but I don't think that didn't happen, did it? That fight didn't happen, no. I remember I was actually thinking that was going to happen, but at the time, I couldn't call who was going to win that.
Straight away I squashed it by bringing him on to be a training partner, because I needed good training partners. I used to always travel to America to train. I didn't have the level of training here in the UK, so I needed people like that to be here to be able to train with.
So Brad used to come down to our gym. Him, Jason Young, wherever they were training at the time, they would come to our gym, Pancras, London. Me, Jess, Paul Hines, Dean Jones. And we'd get sparring with those guys quite a lot. And me and Brad was like, if we have to fight each other for the title, it'd be fine. Just, in the meantime, we'll just train along and do what we're doing. This time, Jess had actually managed to open up his own gym. It's like the only other MMA gym, the London Shoot.
The London Shoe Fighters, been around a really long time. They were obviously the first in, obviously this side of the water where we obviously we had the Cobra Gym. In fact, at one point, I think we had a few of their students actually teaching classes here as well with us, running kick and Thai boxing just alongside us. And we was all a bit like, some of these jiu-jitsu guys were doing actually jiu-jitsu classes, and then it formed into MMA. And the London Shoe Fighters are a very strong gym. They've produced a lot of fighters over the years.
And then Jess went on to do other things as well, so I left Pancras, London, joined Team Titan, and that's where my career really took off. And that's it. I've been just fighting and training from then on.
But why were you in that cage? What made you do it?
I was no good at football. That was it. My brother was signed to Fulham and Chelsea. My dad was very good. I just sucked at football. So I had to go fighting. I did judo from a young age for a long time. And it was just an easy transition to go from like that sort of training to fighting. It's really easy, in fact.
Ash has always been fluttering in and out between both sides as well. I mean, he's, you know, like I say, I met Ash when he was up in East London and he was training up there and he was fighting just on the early days of CFC, you know, Cage Fighting Championships with Alan Muller, who was obviously looking after him at the time. But, you know, he'd been around for a little while doing obviously sort of dabbling into the jiu-jitsu, the kickboxing. Yeah, so that's, you know, it was a long while ago and look where it's all come from now, from then.
Yeah, only 2 MMA gyms back in those days.
You think of it, there was London Shoot Fighters and Pancrase London. That was it. And then I remember when my first ever session was at London Shoot. They used to have like a Monday MMA session. And I used to go to Monday at London Shoot, Wednesday at Pancrase London, and then I trained Thai boxing with Philip Chu in between. And that was kind of like the only training you could do. And then when you got lucky, like Rob Solskjaer, I don't know if you remember him, very good grappler back in the day. And he opened up a gym in Canada Water, so we traveled down there. You were just going up and down across London continually to find good training until Jess opened up his gym, and that's when, for me, one of the best full-time MMA gyms are around.
How did it all begin with Ash Grimshaw?
With Ash? How did it begin? Man, I didn't expect you to ask me that. I stopped teaching in 2009 Jiu-Jitsu because of other stuff, and you know, it's kind of decided to take a little bit of time out. You know, like 2009, I wasn't going to teach Jiu-Jitsu, and actually it was Silly Mahmood and Michael Johnson from, they used to be ex-London Shoot. And I bumped into them when I was doing Thai boxing and stuff, because my missus fought Thai boxing, and he goes, "Oh mate, dude, you can't just stop teaching, you've got to do something because we want to train Jiu-Jitsu and stuff like that," and etc. So, you know, kind of had some MMA fights and stuff like that, and then I thought, you know what the hell, I've got too many people asking me to teach Jiu-Jitsu again, so I thought, yeah, I might just start teaching again. So I opened up the academy, it was called Legacy at the time, and then, until we switched to Glorious Grapplers. And yeah, Ash came down. Ash came down, and you know, because he, you know, I knew him before from mashing him on Bama and stuff like that. When he came to me, he trained McGee a few times. Didn't train McGee that much, and then kind of like got him in a gi, and he got into the flow stuff, and then yeah, it was just from there, man. It just became a really, really big part of jiu-jitsu and stuff like that, you know, and that was separate to what, you know, his MMA training, what he did at Titan and stuff like that, and his striking, etc.
Also, sometimes what it is, people see a lot of people on the TV and like sitting in these big teams, and they think, oh guys, these guys are absolutely monsters. And sometimes you don't realise, unless you go train with these people, the levels sometimes ain't that much different. You know, there's only a small 5% of like maybe a bit of timing, a little bit of experience and stuff like that. You know, so there's only a small difference between top boxers. Sometimes when you go and train with these guys, you realise, hey, I'm not that far apart. You know, so I think it's very good for people's confidence sometimes. And like I say, when me and Ash were fighting back in the day, there wasn't that many pro fighters within the UK. You know, so you had to travel a little bit to go get the experience, and like I have today, which I'm giving my knowledge now, which I've travelled to season my wrestling, to season all this, like Ashleigh has, and now we're passing on our knowledge to the younger generation. You know, so they don't have to travel as much.
So over the last 10 to 15 years, how much has it changed? You know, the name cage fighting to mixed martial arts has changed.
Yeah, do you know something? It's changed in some places, it hasn't changed in other places. It never bothered me when people say, oh, he's a cage fighter, he's an MMA fighter. It makes no difference. People get a little bit uptight about it. It's just the name of the sport. It doesn't matter. Realistically, it's never going to be recognized in England. It's just not. It's an American sport that we do over here and we're trying to be good at. And that's the truth of it.
Can you relate to what Ash was saying?
Yeah, sort of I can, I suppose, in a way, because they've obviously had the UFC have come to England, you know, they've been to, you know, London, Manchester, you know, they have filled out some of the stadiums. There has been a big interest with the fighters that have been on there, but I think that the development of the clubs has grown from the UFC coming to England. But yeah, I don't think it'll ever be as big in England as it is in the States, just purely because obviously there's not as many British people involved, really. And that's, I think, what we need, is we need somebody, obviously, I think whereas in Bellator you have a lot of British people involved, and that's the slight difference there. So that could be the turning point for MMA.
You know, you're regarded as a veteran,
Yeah.
even though you're not that old.
Yeah, I know. Do you know what it is? It's because, man, if you think you go back, my first professional fight was 2003. So technically I've been doing it for 16 years. But I haven't taken much damage or had much injury, so I guess I'm a veteran, but I don't know, yeah. Veteran is, when I'm retired, call me a veteran. Up until now, I'm just a fighter.